Let me first give you some news that we're proud of and the victim of the murders are proud of. We arrested James Williams, who's 36 years of age. James was charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He's from New York. He had 12 felony charges there, 11 misdemeanor charges. They included 4 robberies, 4 assaults, and one of them assault with a weapon. But he wasn't in prison. And because he wasn't locked up for his charges, guess what? He was in Florida where he murdered a 23-year-old kid, just a very young man. Our detectives, along with the U.S. Marshals Task Force, were able to arrest him at his residence. We served a search warrant. We have recovered a cell phone, the clothes he was wearing that night, and a gun, which we highly suspect is the gun he used to shoot and kill our victim. Say, well, how do you know? We don't have the empirical evidence yet, but it's not often you bury a gun in the backyard. So we highly suspect that will turn out to be the murder weapon. So he's in jail. He's going to be held accountable and prosecuted. And our goal is to see that he spends the entire rest of his life in state prison for murdering a 23-year-old kid and trying to murder another 38-year-old man who was friends with our murder victim. Okay? We good to go with that? Okay. Carrie, I'll give this to y'all. So why are we here today? We're here today because people fraudulently practice medicine. And here's our suspect. This is the person we have under arrest. Her name is Jessie Lopez. She's currently charged with 6 felonies, and they are unlicensed practice of healthcare profession. Other charges are criminally pending. But let me give you the background. This is a joint investigation that we're working with the DEA and the Florida Department of Health. They called us into this investigation to assist them. What we've determined is Jessie Lopez says she's a RN, a registered nurse. She's got plaques and certifications all within this building. But I draw to your attention, Dr. Drop It Like It's Hot. Isn't that a place that you just think of going to the doctor? Dr. Drop It Like It's Hot? Well, a lot of people did. It was a weight loss clinic. In fact, some of my colleagues at the sheriff's office were victimized here, as well as many other reputable people in the community, but they're victims and we're not going to use their names. But at the end of the day, Jessie is under arrest. She's under arrest because she said she's a registered nurse. I call her a CRN instead of RN. CRN means criminal right now. That's what she is. Now, in addition to that, guess what? She also is working with a medical doctor. He's under criminal investigation at this time, and we'll release his name to you as well. In fact, he just walked in here a few minutes ago. I don't know if y'all have any photographs of him or not, but he showed up at his doctor's office. We don't have arrest warrants for him now, but certainly he's the focus of the investigation. So you might ask yourself, why is he under investigation? Well, you see that sign there? It says supervised by obesity board certified doctor. He's also certified in endocrinology, according to his business card, and cardiology. Our hope is at the conclusion of this investigation, we can also put that he's certified in visiting the county jail. So at the end of the day, it's important to understand that people trust their health care providers. They trust people who are going to help them lose weight legally, legitimately, and in a healthy way. But she was practicing medicine, giving injections, and those are out on her Facebook page if you care to see them. In addition, this doctor would provide a medical marijuana card. And we have some wonderful pictures of him wearing his medical marijuana tie. I'm suspicious. He's under investigation. But here's what I want you to know. One of the signs in one of the treatment rooms says, "Don't forget where you came from, but never lose sight of where you're going." Well, in case they've lost sight of where they're going, Jessie's going to the county jail. And we don't want her to lose sight of that today. She came from this fake clinic. She's going to the county jail. The investigation still is pending. We anticipate that there's going to be more charges. Here's what we want. If you've been a victim of this lady, please, please, please contact our investigative team, because we know there are more victims, and certainly we're going to hold them accountable. Any questions?
She was actually writing the scripts for the Benjamin, and she was actually performing the vampire facelifts.
That's correct. She was writing the scripts, as I understand it. I don't know if she was signing her name or falsifying the doctor's name. I don't know which. That's under investigation. But she was providing a vampire lift. Now, don't you really want a vampire lift? I mean, is that a good medical term? I understand that it's a legitimate procedure. Here's what I'm told. They take blood from you, and then they separate the blood from the plasma, and then they re-inject the plasma in your face. Can you believe that? A vampire lift? If I want to lift, I'll just lift my cheeks with my fingers. I don't want any vampires messing with me. I don't want any fake registered nurses dealing with me. Don't want any CRNs, criminals right there, messing with me. So at the end of the day, we're going to do what's right for this community and for the people. We'll have more information upon the conclusion of the investigation. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I feel like I see these types of clinics everywhere. How do you know, or how can you find out that it's not somebody, a CRN?
Yes, criminal right now. The way you know that it's a registered nurse and not a CRN, a criminal right now, is to go and online, and the Florida Department of Health shows that they're registered, also shows any complaints filed against them. So you can verify that your health care providers are in fact state certified and licensed health care providers. And I recommend that you do that, especially if you go into a clinic that's called Doctor Drop It Like It's Hot.
Sheriff, have there been a lot of other complaints about this lady? Or is it?
Well, do you know that we received our information from DEA and also from the Florida Department of Health? There has been complaints, and that's how we got into the investigation. We're excited to work this investigation with our colleagues, and I'm certain, I can't speak for the Florida Department of Health or for DEA, but I'm absolutely certain that there will be a legion of administrative excuse me. I'm absolutely sure there'll be a legion of administrative charges in addition to the criminal charges.
And are you able to talk about some of the complaints that were brought? Are you able to talk about some of these complaints that were brought against this lady?
At this point in the investigation, we're not. At this point in the investigation, we're just giving you the criminal charges, and we're actively completing a search warrant right now, which by and large is a paper chase here. And as soon as we get all the records together to see what records they are, and what are criminal or not criminal, or administrative or not administrative, then we'll deal with those. But I can tell you clearly and unequivocally, this is a fake place, and people have been taken advantage of. Reputable people throughout our community. And you can tell by looking at me, I'm not one of them.
What do you say about somebody who has a chutzpah to do this?
They not only have the chutzpah to do this, they did this with those that are employed in law enforcement. They took advantage of some of them, as well as other people in the business community. So at the end of the day, they had this deal going. She knew she wasn't a registered nurse. The doctor knew she wasn't a registered nurse. But she's a CRN. She's a criminal right now. And at the end of the day, we'll complete the investigation and hold everybody accountable that needs to be held accountable. That's our promise. And DEA and Florida Department of Health are certainly completing their investigations, and there's going to be a lot of work done with that as well. Okay?
Sheriff, she took extreme measures to set up what looks like a legitimate business.
If you go into the business, it looks absolutely legitimate. On face value, there's no reason not to believe this is a professional health clinic. It's set up professionally. They have staff that's professional. But at the end of the day, they were violating the law. And there's nothing that a great doctor hates worse than a doctor that violates the law. There's nothing a great nurse hates worse than a nurse that violates the law. And quite frankly, the overwhelming majority of the people in the healthcare field in this county and state, and I submit in the nation, are lifesavers and wonderful people. I can certainly tell you this, there's some that are frauds, and they operate out of this building here.
Can you talk about the Dr. Compassion 420 part of this? Was she giving out medical marijuana or just advising people?
No, what they were doing is they were giving out medical marijuana certificates. Now let me wind you back 2 or 3 years. You don't have to call me a prophet. There's not a crystal ball in my office. But I said then that there would be less than reputable doctors doing less than reputable health examinations and providing certificates for quote-unquote medical marijuana. Why wasn't I a prophet? Because we saw this all throughout California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington. And what do they do? When you look, I believe it was California at the time, I'm doing this from memory, when the average person that has a medical marijuana card is like a male that's 32 or 34 years old, that's not normally a real sick group of people. That's not folks that have terminal life diseases.
How long had this been going on?
We became involved in this investigation in April. We don't know how long the investigation was we don't know how long, I don't know how long right now, but we certainly will get that information for you.
So if you have a certificate, that means you can go to the dispensary and get
and get marijuana. And that's under investigation. I don't know at this point in the investigation whether she was giving the certificates out or whether the doctor was giving the certificates after an evaluation. That's still under investigation.
But it would have been legit for him to give them out?
It would have been legit if he had the predicate training.
We don't know yet.
And he did the predicate medical evaluation. We don't know yet.
The people who got certificates, their certificates will be withdrawn like they're not legit?
We have no idea. That is another investigation for another day. We're dealing with this clinic today with her dispensing medical practice without the appropriate license or authorization. We have the doctor as a suspect. Now you can be sure that we're going to do a complete and thorough investigation, and if he is appropriately evaluating people for medical marijuana, good for him. If he's not, he gets to be arrested for that too. But that's an investigation yet to be determined. I have zero evidence right now that he's not prescribing medical marijuana cards appropriately. But when you look at this front here that's going on with weight loss clinic, certainly it causes me to be suspicious of his other medical practice. And by the way, he's licensed to practice at hospitals in Polk County.
Where did he screw up? The doctor.
The doctor is under investigation. We don't know where all he may have made mistakes yet. I don't call them mistakes. I call them intentional money grabs. But that's what we're doing here with the search warrant today.
What's his name?
I didn't write it on this card. His name's Ashraf. Dr. Ashraf. We'll have all that information for you. But he's under investigation. He's not been criminally charged. He's only under investigation at this time. But I can assure you of this. There were a lot of great people, a lot of wonderful people that was taken advantage of. They thought they were coming here for legitimate help, under legitimate medical supervision, and receiving injections and medicines by a legitimate registered nurse under the authority and auspices of a medical doctor. He is a medical doctor in the state of Florida. She is not a registered nurse. And he has known her from back when she was a secretary someplace in the medical field. So this doesn't take a lot of deep investigation to see that there's some debauchery afoot here.
Sheriff, I
have a good day.
You've covered this previously, but how did they come onto your radar?
DEA and the Florida Department of Health were administratively investigating them and determined that there was criminal events, and that's when Florida Department of Health and DEA asked us to join the investigation. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day. Take care.
Hey Brian, before you take that away, snap a photo of that, please. Before you take that away.